Welcome to Just Thinking. The town election is on May 21st, and to help you learn about the candidates, I will be interviewing each one that is running for a contested seat. I will ask the same questions of each candidate for an office so we can compare and draw our own conclusions from their responses. These interviews run about 20 minutes each and can be found on the Holliston Cable Access Facebook page and at www.hcattv.org, so you can watch anytime and anywhere. Today's guest is Jay Leary.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, and I know some of these questions are going to be maybe unnecessary because you've been a public figure for so long, but okay, how long have you lived here?
This year will be 51 years. And in July of this year, it's going to be, can't believe it's gone by so quick.
I know. And tell us a little bit about yourself, including your professional background.
So I'm a pharmacist. I've owned, operated, and managed very many pharmacies in Massachusetts. Currently, my newest endeavor is to, we opened up a long-term care pharmacy in the Worcester area, which services the long-term care community like rest homes, group homes, nursing home type facilities. So it's not open to the public. It's something that we service those throughout the state. So it's a new,
Interesting.
I've been
Never heard of it.
doing it in 2.5 years, and we started at nothing the day I opened it up. It was zero, and now it's quite a growing operation.
Well, good for you. But no, that's an interesting topic. I actually on a different show at a different time. We need to talk about that. That's an interesting.
Sure. Be happy to talk about it.
All right. So why are you interested in this position on the Finance Committee again?
So, as you know, or I should say, my background started when I ran for public office the first time was on the Finance Committee. I did that for 9 years. After that, at the end of that 9-year term, I ran for selectman and did 2 terms of the Board of Selectmen. Financial things are always interesting to me, anyways, just as a business person, but particularly in town stuff, because there's a lot of events that happen or don't happen because of finances, and it's trying to keep that balance of sensible spending and also keeping taxpayers happy because they don't like it when their taxes go too crazy, and that balance is intriguing to me. So that's something that I want to get back on and see. Holliston right now has a bunch of really, in the next couple of years, going to have to be making some big decisions about some big projects. So, and I'd like to be part of that discussion.
All right. So describe the specific skills or experience that you bring this from the past. And obviously, you've got the time that you were on a FinCom, right, but you might want to bring in some of the stuff from your business experience.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it is. So anybody that's ever run or operated a small business know the challenges, financial challenges that one has to face to make those things successfully happen. So yes, that's how I really got onto it. I was very interested in, some of the stuff that was going in town. I said, hey, I think I can use some of my business background to do that. When you get in there, you find out municipal finance is a little bit different, and in a lot of cases a lot different than regular finance, but it's still some of the basic principles apply, and that's what the thing was there. I think what initially got me going was the whole idea of sewers in town, and that really got me motivated, and then somebody said to me, hey, you should run for office, and I did, and then I got on there doing it that way. But yeah, the skill sets that are involved in business are very applicable to running a town, because in essence, the town is a business too. It's just run a little bit differently. There's a lot of different laws and stuff that you have to follow that you do not follow in regular private business.
Do I remember correctly that in some of your past you may have said that you were even interested in town government when you were in high school?
Yeah, I mean, it was really weird. For those that go back a ways, I used to listen at night on the radio when I would fall asleep to Jerry Williams.
Oh, my.
On WBZ TV. And talk radio fascinated me, and that was always political and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm talking like 9, 10 years old, and it's always been an interest of mine. Then Jerry's long gone, but I'm still fascinated by local politics, national politics, state politics. So it's just an area of interest.
I do understand.
Yeah?
Yeah. So all of the candidates that are running for the Finance Committee have experience on the Finance Committee. Specifically for you, what do you bring to this position that the others do not?
Well, so I think I have the added benefit now. I've been on 2 different committees, 2 different executive committees of town. That definitely is a big asset. My business experience, I think I've done it longer. I'm just older than they are, so I've done it for a lot longer. I've started a few businesses. I don't know if any of those folks have. I know they have financial backgrounds, but like I said, I think taking something from its inception and making it happen, I think is a neat skill set that others don't. The other thing you're going to get from me is I am. If from my time before, once I put my heart and soul into something, you're going to get 110% out of Jay Leary, and that's something that I would continue to do if I was fortunate enough to become elected member of the Finance Committee.
Just as sort of an aside question, so what do you think the strength of, what is it about being a selectman you think adds to this? Well,
I think 2 things. So when I was a Finance Committee member, I don't think I really appreciated all the efforts and all the decision-making things that had happened as a select person. When I got there, and now it's suddenly on me that I had to actually make some of those decisions, but I also had to keep in the back of my mind some of the financial aspects. I think that's a lot more challenging. Having seen that, both sides of the equation, having different skill sets that are required, I think it kind of makes it a lot easier for me to look at something and say, well, okay, I know that balance that needs to take place. It's not just a financial balance. It's it may be some political balance. It may be some, legal things that you have to do, and you don't see that unless the Finance Committee tends to find out about things after they've happened. Like if a board comes and says, hey, I have this legal issue, and you got to I need money for it. Whereas being on that other side, you get to see it, and I also appreciate that. I think for when I was on the selectmen, my colleagues appreciated that I had that skill set that they didn't feel as strongly about, and I maintained that because during my whole tenure as a selectman, I went to all the Finance Committee meetings. I never missed any because I wanted to have that continuity between the 2 boards, which it wasn't always there. And when it's not, I think it makes for a little more challenging time to govern anyways.
Okay. What are the top 3 most important functions of the Finance Committee?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's one of the things is working with the budgets that we have. I mean, our town does it a little bit differently than some others. Our Finance Committee has a little bit more authority, I think, to put budgets together, where in a lot of towns you'll see the select boards do that, or the executive branch more doing that, and they kind of use the Finance Committee as a sounding board and say, hey, this is what we're thinking we're doing, what do you think? It's kind of not ever really been like that in Holliston. We kind of delegate more of that to the Finance Committee. So that's obviously an important function. Obviously, having some conversations with state and local leaders, they affect a lot of what we're able to do in the idea of local aid and things like that, so they have to have that background. And then obviously working with all the different department heads and trying to make everybody who demonstrates usually a very good need for things, and saying, you know what, the pie is only so big and I can't give everybody what they want. And making those kind of decisions, I think that's another big part of that. And that's probably the biggest challenge out of it all, because I would always say, both as a selectman and a Finance Committee member, none of the departments said that if they had the money that they asked for, they could do phenomenal things with, but it's not a case of being able to provide it all the time.
It's very true that there's never enough to go around. What do you think the role of the Finance Committee is in developing new programs and initiatives and services for the town? And this kind of gets to what you mentioned about their role being a little bit different than perhaps as it is in other communities.
Well, I mean, I think they do develop policies and stuff. I'll be honest with you. I think since I was on the committee, the Finance Committee policies that they've developed over time with the input of the selectmen, I know we were part of it as part of that Collins group and stuff. A lot of good things happened. I think they offer a lot of thoughtfulness that they can share with people. We have a lot more firm financial policies that were not really in place initially when I started. They were more kind of loosey-goosey, if you will, but we always did well, but we didn't have it firmly on paper. Now we have distinct things that kind of set out what the certain numbers of targets should be, things like that. One of the things that was able to happen during my tenure as a selectman, which was through the help of the Finance Committee, was the bond rating for the town of Holliston went up a couple points, which is huge for us as far as borrowing money and things like that. So,
so to sort of push a little bit harder on this question, say a department decided that it wanted to launch a new initiative. Okay, what is the role of the Finance Committee in that?
Well, so I guess I would probably depart a little bit from where most people would. I think they should do that initiative. I think they should come up with the numbers that should do it. And I think unless there's a really compelling reason why we can't do it, they should be allowed to do it. One of the things that kind of concerns me a little bit is sometimes there does seem to be some stifling of opportunities on some boards because maybe I think the Finance Committee gets in too deep into the weeds sometimes in areas that maybe are better left to either the department heads or the executive boards that control those. So, okay.
What is the if you have one, top change, improvement, or service that you would like to see implemented on the Finance Committee?
So I'd like to see some cycling of the membership. When I say that, I mean we've had, and it was true when I was on the Finance Committee too, we tend to have chairmanships that tend to last forever. And I think it's okay and it's good, but I also think it's healthy to have new people cycle through. When I was a selectman, as everybody knows, when you were a select woman, we had a cycle, and you went in a very distinct way, and unless you, for some reason, couldn't do it, you stuck with that cycle. That doesn't happen on this board, and I think it's an important thing. I think it gives other people opportunity, get some other ideas. I think it's healthy. One of the things that people in general in government will complain about, that he's been there or she's been there forever, and they never seem to go away. Well, if nobody's challenging them or nobody's looking to move on, then that can sometimes happen. So I think that's a healthy thing. I think the board, as it's constituted now, there's some opportunities that could maybe, people might be able to take on that leadership opportunity, and I think that's important to do.
Okay. What do you've lived here a long time, so I suspect you have thought ahead. What do you want Holliston look like, feel like, be like over the next 5 to 10 years, and where does the Finance Committee fit in that?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'd like to see it kind of continue on where we are now, where obviously things are changing a lot since I was here. I was telling before the start of this, I was telling someone I want to say there were about 5,500, 6,000 people here when I first moved to town. There's over 15,000. The demographics are changing.
A lot.
The infrastructure needs of Holliston are really, really changing, and that's another thing that I think is important that I'm looking for down the road. We're coming off in Holliston a time of 20 years of debt that we had spent a lot of time on building up our school system and infrastructure. That debt is about to get ready to be expired in the next couple of years. However, we do have a lot more challenges that lay ahead of us that are also that we could be well over that debt number and then some looking forward. So, I don't expect, like everybody keeps saying in here, we're a very residential-driven tax base. I don't see it changing dramatically. I mean, I want to say it's like almost 90% of the tax base is 87% or something.
Yeah, it's about 86% at this point.
But do I see it like turning over to be 50-50?
Oh,
no.
God, no.
But so the reliance on the house owner taxpayer is going to be tremendous.
Yep.
Their wants, their needs, desires are going to dictate how expensive it is to live in this town. We're already a very, highly higher taxed than some of our surrounding towns, but it's because we don't have that base commercial. So, that's kind of where we're going to be seeing. I expect that, I don't know. I guess a lot of it's going to be driven by what schools do and stuff as far as, like, the birth rate and stuff. Is our town census for school children going to be going flat, down, up? I don't see it really going up. Yeah. Maybe flattening out a little bit more, but that's going to dictate some of the infrastructure needs that we're thinking about are going to be dictated by that. So that's kind of where I see things going. And then a lot of it's going to depend on state and local government, what they're able to help Holliston do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. So, in general, do you think that Holliston's been a popular community for people to move to for the schools? Yeah. At least that's one of the claims to fame. Do you think that this is true now, and do you think that will continue to be the case? I
think schools are a huge part of the attraction of Holliston. I don't think they're the only attraction, but I think they're a big attraction. We've had, over my tenure as a citizen here, we've had award-winning schools in a lot of different areas. The challenge is to maintain that. The challenge is also, I think it's, one of the reasons people like it here is because it's a great community. The sense of community is very strong here. It's a safe community to be in. We have a lot of access to a lot of different areas. I think about what I do and how lucky I am to live in this area. In 2 hours, I can be in a whole host of different kind of areas. Yep. I can be up in the mountains up north. I can be out in western Mass or eastern New York. I can be down in Connecticut. I can be on the Cape. We have phenomenal education. We have phenomenal medical here. It's just a great place to be, and we're kind of dab smack in the middle of it all. So it's kind of works out really well for us. Yeah.
So, speaking for the Finance Committee, what are you most proud of from your tenure on the Finance Committee in the past?
So, making it through some very, very, very challenging financial times. When I was on there is when kind of the whole
thing
kind of fell apart. Yep. And we were able to make it through, not easily. And a lot of times it was, you were kind of like sticking things together with praying to God nothing went wrong, because if it did, your whole model fell apart. So that was the biggest time that I was, I said if I could do it through there, I could make it through any time. And it was funny because I was talking to previous members of the Finance Committee, and they'd say, oh, yeah, we used to get this boatload of money, and we'd say, how much do you want, and how much do you want? And whatever was left over, we'd give it to somebody else. And it was never like that when I was there. And I said, geez, I just happened to be gone on the wrong time, because there were some times that we did things that, like I said, one little hiccup and we were dead. But we made it through, and we made it through without really putting Holliston in a super big financial problem. Yep. So.
And do you have a regret?
Yeah.
Do over?
Yeah, it's funny. It's in the same line of work, and I can even credit a former Finance Committee person. I believe Sam Tyler was, he was the president of the Boston Municipal thing, and one of the years that I was telling you, particularly challenging, we needed $500,000, and something came up that we had one-time $500,000 money, and we thought we were going to use it. And we went to town meeting, and we said, you know what, we're going to use it. And Sam Tyler got up and said, bad mistake. And we kind of looked at each other and said, yeah, but we don't have a lot of other options. And we did it. It passed through, like a lot of things happen in town meeting. And we paid for that for like it took us 3 years to get out from under that one decision. Because as anybody in financial knows, you can't use one-time money for ongoing operations, because it always comes back to bite you. Yeah. It did. And like I said, it probably took 3 or 4 years to get out from under that. And
you won't make that mistake again.
Well, I would never make that mistake. And the funniest part is, I kind of knew when everybody kind of knew when Sam was telling us that he was right, but we just didn't have any real other options. So we said, well, we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Held your nose and jumped.
it did not work out well, like I said. So.
Well, all right. Do you have some time to make a final pitch for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that people are giving me the opportunity to run again. I think it is an opportunity. I've been a long-time citizen of this town. I believe in giving back. This is my way of trying to do that. Like I said, you will get 110% of Jay Leary. I put a lot of heart and soul when I ran in my previous public service, and I'll do it again. And I always want to see in the end, the big picture is the benefit for the town of Holliston. I don't think anybody that does this for any other reason, I think you're missing the boat. We're fortunate, like I said, we have a lot of great volunteers in this town. You know, my other piece is, if you're not part of that solution, you are part of that problem, and I think that adage is true. You know, it used to be frustrating as a public servant. When I would get frustrated as a public official would be when people would complain about things that usually you could tell they didn't have all the answers, or they didn't have all the understanding of, and they would just tell you that you were some kind of creep because you know. I don't think people do it for that. It's not a paid position. Yeah. It doesn't, you know, I know a lot of people will ask me, why do you want to do that again? But it's just something I enjoy. Yeah. I like the camaraderie, and I like seeing that, you know, you may have made a difference in maybe pushing your city or town, which everybody should be proud of, in a positive direction.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay. And take care and good luck.
Yep. Thank you.
Now that the candidates have shared their views, please be sure to do your part and vote on May 21st at the high school field house between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Turnout for the town election in 2017 was 11%. That's just 1,100 voters. In 2018, 16% turned out. We'd like to beat that this year and hit 20% or more. There are also 2 questions on the ballot about retail marijuana to bring our town bylaws into line with the latest state regulations. Local government hits you at home and is where you have the biggest influence, and Holliston is the living model of true democracy. Please participate. And thanks.